look at things like Twitter now, that becomes an argument. If you're in a troll argument, they're gonna criticize your grammar. And so at the base of all this, like I say, as a newspaper guy, get your English grade. Get it for your resume, get it for your blog, get it for Twitter, get it for anything you write, so that you know when you're writing it, this is right. Because it's just one less thing that people can criticize about you. And one of the biggest problems right now in every part of this industry is everybody wants to criticize you. And that's part of how we're going as a society and part of what you're growing up with. And I don't like it because it used to be different, but I like the part of the creativity that's coming in. When I first started, I went to school at Central Michigan University, came out of there. My girlfriend was from Texas. There wasn't much work in Michigan back in the day, so we moved to Texas, started working at a small paper, the Grapevine Sun, worked my way up, worked at the Star Telegram, worked at the Morning News. You know, you do colleges, you do high schools, you do everything you can, and like I think Gina was saying, it's 17,000 or whatever. I don't think I even got that. I think it was 12. But you work your way up, you do good work, you do everything you can to push yourself up through the industry. And in that process, I think you learn a lot about how you do things. And back in the day, you were told, here, this is how you write. You write the inverted pyramid. Here's the most important thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing, all the way down to the bottom. And there was a form, and every single journalism student was pushed through doing that form. And so now, you don't have to follow that form. Now, it's free form. Now you can be creative. Now you can do anything you want. And I've tried to do that in the blogs I write a lot of times. I still have to write regular stories because what goes in the paper is on a tighter form. But then when you get onto the blog, you can try and be creative. You can try and be different. You can try and be interesting. And I think that's a huge part of what you guys have an opportunity to do is be interested. And you know, if you look on YouTube, or if you look on Twitter, if you look on Instagram, people want something different. And sometimes it could be silly, sometimes it could be insightful. And you just have to find a way to be unique. And that's one of the opportunities you have, is, you know, work on all of these things and find a way to be unique. And one of the ways that I suggest you can do that is you have access to basically everything I have access to. So there are games like Evan, Grant, or myself will stay at home because, you know, you can't cover all 82 games. You can't cover 162 games. So you sit and you watch on TV. Well, I'm watching on TV and I say, okay, I want to know about this stat. So I go on my laptop because it's sitting there while I'm watching TV, and boom, there's the stats that the Major League Baseball or the NFL or NHL or NBA are providing as the game's going on. You get exactly the same stuff we get in the arena. Okay, so then you're watching the television broadcast and they come in between periods. Hey, look, you get inside the locker room, you're hearing the coach talk inside the locker room. We don't even get that in the arena. You're getting an interview with the player. Game's over, I'm asking somebody questions, they're recording it. It's going out instantly to you guys. So you are getting everything that any writer gets instantly. So if you want to work on something, if you really wanted to be a writer, then you could go and say, all right, here are the stats, here are the key issues, as you know, you write them down. Here is an interview, all right? I can press record. You know, you write down whatever they say if you want to. Now you have all the information. If you wanted to after a game or the next day, write a story. You say, okay, how do I do this? How do I become a sports writer? You're probably writing for a school paper or whatever. So then you're going to watch the Stars game. Here's what happened. Jamie Benn scored 2 goals. Here's what Jamie Benn said after the game. You have an opportunity now to write that story. And that's an incredible chance to basically do the job before you ever have that job. And I think even if you're not going to be a sports writer, I think it's an interesting practice just so that you understand what we're going through if you are in marketing, if you are in PR, if you are in some other form of the sports industry, then you can understand what it's like to write on deadline, how hard it is to get things right, how hard, you know, how much you have to check the facts and make sure everything's right. Gina was talking about getting things right and how people will criticize, you know, the women. They criticize everybody. Let me promise you that. Nowadays, I have 2 children, and I tell my son, I always thought 95 was good in high school. right? You get a 95, you think, oh, I'm smart, hey. If you get 95 in the work world, they're going to ask you about why you got 5% wrong. They're going to pick things out in your story, whether that's grammatically, whether that's factually, whether that's statistically, whether that's a spelling of somebody's name from the Czech Republic. They will find it and they will talk to you about it. And so that's an environment that you need to program yourself to live in. And it's stressful at times, but then it's actually kind of fun at times, because once you do, like Gina says, you do 100% preparation and you might only use 20% of it, but there's this confidence you have that once you get all this information, then you can sit there and say, all right, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm writing about. I understand this. And this goes to the passion of it, too. You have to kind of like it. You have to, you want to cover the Dallas Stars. You want to cover the Texas Rangers. You want to know everything about it. And so then it's not really a job. It is a job because you have to do it, but it's not a job because you want to do it. And so that's a big part of my message today is you guys have an opportunity if you want to do, and like Gina says, if you want to do a blog, if you want to do a tape, you have the opportunity to get information and basically do the same job that we're doing. And to me, that's really neat, because we didn't have that back in the day. We were sent to high school games, we were sent to wherever, and forced to, work your way up, and you're going to probably have to do the same thing. But the ability to prepare yourself for that is really great. Newspaper industry, not doing great, but like the Dallas Morning News, for example, is one of the stronger papers, economically speaking, because it doesn't have debt service. It's just a business-wide thing, is that if you borrow money to run your business, then you have to pay interest on that money. And so that then makes, okay, now you have to make even more money to pay off the interest. We don't have a whole lot of debt service. So as an industry that's by itself, newspapers can survive. You can bring in enough money to pay the writers, to pay the editors, to pay the photographers. If you start getting into other things like this Morning News is running Texas News Network, or trying to incorporate with other things, then it becomes more difficult. So I do believe that newspapers are going to be around for a while. Now, the fact that we have to deliver that message electronically is both great and difficult, because we still have the paper product. So I'll give you a typical night. Stars game starts at 7:30, probably ends about 10. They will often want the first story at 10:15 to 10:30. So that means you're writing in the third period. You got your head down, you're trying to write a story, and the game's going on. And you're just like, I know the game's going on, hopefully there'll be a good replay. And so you're doing that, and then you're up in the press box. I talk to Darryl Ray about this all the time. We have the worst televisions ever. You're sitting at home with a 60-inch where you can replay it yourself. We have a TV about this big that's up on a wall somewhere, and you just got to hope that you get a good replay. And so, again, you've got to fight through all that, then press a button, get something out with no quotes in it, run downstairs, go get some quotes, come back up, you have till 11:30 to get your quoted version out, and then depending on if it's an overtime game, a lot of times playoffs will go overtime, then they'll even give you a later deadline if they just want it for the internet. So then on this particular night, I would have written 3 stories. If it's a first deadline, second deadline, internet. Then mix in the morning, you went to the morning skate, so then you came back in and you wrote a blog entry. And the blog entry is about, hey, these lines are starting, and this is what the coach is looking at. Here's what players said in the morning. And so that might be, 600 or 700 words. So then all these other, stories are 700 words or 800 words, and then by the end of the night you've written 3,000 words and you're exhausted. But the process of doing all that it's kind of invigorating, because you get to pick out different angles, different things, and the world now, you get to give stuff news when it's happening. So you come out of the morning skate and they find out that Kari Lettman's not starting, people want to know that. And so then you get quotes from the coach, quotes from Kari Lettman, you send it out, and you get a buzz from that, because you're getting feedback from fans who say, great, that's great information, give me more information. So then you go to the game, and here, in the first period, Jonas Enroth is pulled, and so you send that out there on Twitter, or if there's an injury, you go to the blog and you try and update that, and then again, it's a relationship that you're getting with the fans because they can give you feedback. It's kind of, like say, it's invigorating because you're sending out stuff and people are either telling you it's good or it's bad or, they want to have an argument about it. And that's one of the big keys to, I think, the new world of journalism, is that back in the day, you'd write something and somebody would read it the next day and you might hear about it the next day after that. And now you write something and it's out there. And you're sending it immediately to people right now. And then they're giving you feedback. Another thing that you have to do now is, all right, you're in an interview with a coach or a player. And you're trying to record the interview, and then on your phone, you're trying to tweet out, on the other hand, hey, this guy's got a broken ankle and he's going to be out for 6 months, or whatever. And, and then there's 3 other guys trying to do it just as quickly. And, that's one of the things that I think that's one of the great things that you guys have, is you can do that. You're very comfortable with it. And so, you can get that information out, and you will be, I think, some of the better reporters because you are so comfortable with social media. But then I take that and say, that's your strength. Now, is your weakness doing things, grammatically correct, doing things structurally correct, getting everything, exactly right? And that's where I think the good ones from the group of youth will come in, is you take the old staple stuff that we were raised with, that I was raised with, and then mix it with the new stuff, and then find a new way to do it with your own twist. And that's basically, if you want to be a writer, that's my spiel today, is that, you've got to find a way to have a good foundation and then to find a way to mix your own unique stuff on top of that. And, like Gina said, a lot of this is relationships. It's just being a good person. It's being fair but being tough. That is one of the things that's really interesting, is that, like, here are these athletes, and, Leon knows. I mean, Mike Modano's just a guy. But, he also makes $9 million a year, and, he has a lot of power in this world. And so, if you tick him off, that's a bad thing. If you tick off Brett Hall, he doesn't like it. Modano, he'll be a little bit easy on you, but Brett Hall, he doesn't like it. So then you have to learn to take those relationships and make them work somehow. And it's just like with your friends, it's just like with teachers, it's just like with administrators or your parents. You have to be subtle, you have to be smooth, you have to find ways to massage situations. And that's a big part of basically doing any job, but I think it's also magnified because of the fact these guys are such big stars that make so much money that, sometimes they're just like, okay, media guy, just get out of here. We don't have any room for you. And so you have to find in that, relationship a place where they respect you. And I think that's a big key. I mean, it's a simple fact that they respect you and they respect the job you're doing. And I'm lucky because it is hockey. Hockey players are a lot easier. But it's been pretty, it's amazing how much they will respect you if you do things, quote unquote, the right way. So that's all I got for right now.
Well, Mike's on your little packet I gave out. You can follow him on Twitter. One is there. But if you go to the Dallas Morning News website, they have a Stars blog that they'll email to your inbox if you decide to check your emails.
Yeah. And I still do email. If you want to send me a long email, I'll send you a long email back.
Yeah, he's real good with that. So.
You saw the thing earlier in the season where Phil Kessel called a reporter an idiot, right?
Right.
How did you feel about that?
I think it's his right. That's another part of it. And like Gina says, I mean, you kind of have to have a thick skin when you do this. And I'll tell you this, I have a thicker skin now because of Twitter. Because back in the day, you'd write your story and nobody, they'd have to write a letter to the editor. That's how difficult it was to give me negative feedback. And the players could do it, but, even they didn't do it that much. Now, if you write something, the readers are all over you. And so then you do develop a thick skin. And I do think the other thing that's interesting about this is, I really think it's important for everybody, I mean, the reporter obviously, to have responsibility for the job they do. If you ask a stupid question, you have to sit there and go, well, half of this is on me. I ticked him off because I asked a stupid question. If you are inciting a guy and you want him to call you an idiot, then some guys, you get that and you're like, all right, hey, now I got a scoop. This is great. I got reaction from players. One of my friends way back in the day, Simon Gonzalez, worked for the Star-Telegram, and Kenny Rogers, I think it was Kenny Rogers, he ticked him off, and Kenny Rogers literally pushed him out of the locker room. Like said, get out of here, you're not allowed in here. And Simon just backed off and said, fine, whatever, instead of I think your natural instinct would be to get in a fight or whatever with a player, but he just backed off, and that was like the biggest thing that ever happened in his career. Everybody wanted to know who Simon Gonzalez was and why was Kenny Rogers mad at him. So as much as you don't want that to happen, sometimes as a reporter it can be the best thing for your image. Like I said, I think you understand that this is an emotional business, and that's the other thing that's interesting about this is like you'll talk to a guy in the morning, or you'll talk to a guy on a bus, or you'll talk to a guy in a hotel, and he'll be the nicest, sweetest guy in the world. You talk to that guy after he lost a game, he is not happy, and he's not happy with you, and he's not happy with anybody. And then you have to learn how to ask a question in that environment and not have it be a stupid question. And it's a difficult thing, and I think experience is the big key. You do it enough times, and you learn what words set them off, and try not to put effort in there because they don't like to have their effort questioned.
Questions? Anybody else?
Anybody. Nobody wants to be a
Come on.
reporter. No, you know what's interesting, and I will say this, I'll go back to this again. Writing is important. It's going to be important in everything you do. If you're a broadcaster, Gina, she writes blogs. Ralph Strangis writes blogs. Daryl Ray writes blogs. If they are poor writers, or if you do a poor job of conveying your thoughts, people go, "Oh, I thought Daryl Ray was smarter than that." So I mean, they really will. People judge your writing. People judge your grammar. So do everything you can to allow that to not be a part of the ideas that you're conveying. Like I said, get the foundation right, get everything in place, and then your ideas take center stage.
Do you think social media and internet has had a positive impact or a negative impact? Because yes, you can promote yourself more, but it would hurt the newspaper side of it because of information being put out.
Right. Yeah, and it's really hard because on one hand you can create an image, and we've actually been instructed in this at the newspaper. Create your image, get people come to the blog, create an audience, all right? But here's the process of Twitter. You want it all, not you, but the audience wants it all, the audience wants it now, and the audience wants it for free. That's not a really good business model that we're giving. Like, I'm traveling, my paper's paying me to be in Anaheim, and I'm going to tweet out all the information I have because you want it now. But then are you going to come back to the blog later and read more about it? And so then you have to try and balance that of, let's give them a taste of what we know, and then let's try and get it all on the blog so that we can create people to come in.
That's it.
Thank you.